best way to expand our mind is by learning with our whole body. Augmented and virtual reality will allow us to do that at scale. We will have access to entirely new worlds of experience, intimacy, and insight. We live in a world where we are inundated with information. We are bombarded with it and creating it at ever-increasing rates. And yet, information consumes a resource: your attention, what you are so kindly giving to me right now. A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention, where your alarm clock, calculator, telephone, calendar are all in a tiny box. As information density increases, you have to learn new ways to navigate that information. That's why little children have an easier time than your parents do with their phones. In layman's terms, information overload. So wouldn't it be nice to have a tool that would allow us to access our information in a way that was seamless, concrete, and physical, and in a way that allows us presence and flow? That is the dream of augmented and virtual reality. This isn't just about productivity and ease and efficiency, right? This is about the way that we learn best. Because cognitive scientists are finally starting to understand that thought is embodied, that our body mediates our thinking. That's why if you're standing in an elevator with a warm cup, you're more likely to be kind to your elevator mate than if you have a cold cup. Thinking is also inactive. What do I mean by that? I mean that the way and the extent to which we can interact with our world shapes our ability to actually remember and learn. And I'll give you an example. All of you are going to age. As you lose your ability to move, you also lose your ability to remember. But what people are doing now is they're taking the elderly, who are moving like this now, and putting them in a virtual world where they can navigate. Suddenly, their episodic memory, their ability to remember their own life, increases. That is powerful. You can sum it up with this quote from Confucius: "I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand." And Edgar Dale codified this with the cone of learning. Why do we base our education system on that cool edge of the spectrum? Why are your kids learning that way? Why couldn't it look more like this? So what about VR? Does it matter? The dangerous, the impossible, the counterproductive, and the expensive. So first, the dangerous. What if you could have the thrill without the threat? What if you could treat phobias or train people in dangerous environments so that they're ready when that issue hits, for example, on an oil and gas rigger? The impossible. What if you could have a superpower or step inside a Dali painting to explain surrealism to your child? The counterproductive, a personal favorite. What if you could change your gender just for a day to understand a new experience, your race? Here's an example by the Stanford Virtual Reality Lab. They had people cut down trees in VR. Miraculously, they use less paper. It would never make sense to have someone cut down a forest so one person would use less paper. But in VR, you can do that. And finally, the expensive. So imagine taking your child on a field trip around the world at very little cost so they could have a physical, embodied knowledge. How complex is it to learn anatomy? This is an experience called We Are Alfred by Embodied Labs that allows you to experience what it's like to become blind and to lose your hearing. It revolutionized the way I understood my grandmother. I never understood it, even though I interact with her weekly, until that 7 minutes. I've worked with fashion designers, architects, real estate folks to essentially digitize and dematerialize the prototyping process, and in some cases pass along 50 grand worth of savings to their clients. This is earlier this year, April, in Germany, with Rolls-Royce prototyping a warehouse. Here's IKEA working with Apple to let you test out things in your home before you buy them. I've worked with people who are selling yachts and trains, large objects, to let people step inside them and understand them. Now, if this is confusing to you, you're not alone. What if we were to step inside that and see it differently? This is what's happening. So I would invite us to embrace the gray area between pragmatism and possibility, and to leverage these technologies to create new worlds. So if you want to teach people a new way of thinking, don't bother trying to teach them. Instead, give them a tool, the use of which changes the way they think about the world.